Ampere is getting amped up thanks to the purchase agreement from SoftBank. The deal's an all-cash transaction valued at $6.5 billion, and Ampere's been covered on the rundown in the past. They built some pretty awesome ARM-based server chips, and they're commercially viable. They actually built these things out to be used across multiple clouds. And we know that SoftBank has been very interested in ARM technology, and they've been involved in Project Stargate, which is a $500 billion investment in AI infrastructure in the US. Tom, why is SoftBank spending yet more money on ARM?
Well, they already own ARM. And I think that when they tried to sell it to NVIDIA and that failed, they realized something. They have an asset that they can't offload easily, right? There is way too much, I don't know, tension around who could possibly own this. Well, then that means you're stuck with it. So you've got to do something, right? Well, you got to diversify. And that's the first thing that happens. Well, what is ARM really used for? Well, it's used for mobile devices. And that's where Ampere comes in. Ampere says, well, why can't we use it for servers? Just because everybody else is making x86 servers doesn't mean that we can't. So Ampere kind of goes all in on ARM, right? And they start developing ARM architectures and they succeed. And they create a server architecture that people want to use. Now, granted, you have to basically make your software run on ARM, but that's not hard anymore because most people are developing for multiple architectures anyway. But who else could use ARM? Well, it'd be nice if you could use it in some kind of an accelerator, right? Like that's the other thing that ARM really gets used for is like DPUs and smart NICs and things like that. But there's more than just those on the market. There's other kinds of accelerators too for specialized workloads, like OpenAI. You know, that little scrappy startup company that's looking to make their name for themselves, and oh yeah, controls a massive amount of capital and infrastructure out there. And they look at that big $1 trillion+ valuation that NVIDIA has that just keeps climbing. And they're like, hey, we want some of that too. We want the hardware part of it. You know, I don't care if people are running OpenAI software on NVIDIA. What if they could run OpenAI software on OpenAI hardware or on a partner's hardware? Well, who would partner with them? I don't know. What if the same company was owned by SoftBank? So they own ARM. They own Ampere now. What would happen if Ampere decided to make an accelerator specifically tailored for OpenAI workloads? There's no risk in it because most everybody runs on OpenAI right now. Yeah. I know there's other models out there, but the fact that LLM based research is literally synonymous with ChatGPT tells you that you've reached the Kleenex, Velcro, Oreo level of genericized trademarks, right? So developing for that market is not a bad way to do it, especially if you have somebody who's willing to foot the bill until you can get that moving along. I think what's ultimately going to happen is Ampere is going to continue to do their server stuff, but the majority of their workflow, their research teams are going to go to building AI accelerators. And then OpenAI is going to come out and say, well, OpenAI runs on anything, but if you run it the fastest that you can, you need to run it on our AI accelerator cards. And they'll partner with other companies to put those cards in those servers because realistically speaking, other than the chips, they don't care about the rest of it. And they'll try to get those servers and accelerators put into clouds, which is where Ampere was going to put all their chips anyway. And then you have OpenAI farms running whatever their latest model is, optimized to run on Ampere ARM-based server architecture. And then you get to laugh all the way to the SoftBank. So we'll see if that pans out. $6.5 billion is actually not that big of an investment when you think about it, considering there's $500 billion just sitting out there in the Stargate program. By the way, that's the other Stargate program. And the other one is O'Neill with 2 L's. Which was still one of my favorite shows of all time. But I think that they're going to try to get as much of that as they can and keep it in-house so that they can use it to pay back the failed ARM divestiture, the whole thing with WeWork. SoftBank's looking for a win, and I think they might have found it here.